We had a brief executive session. We started at 5:45. Now we're back into open session, and our first item on the agenda is a departmental update from Tom Milius, who is reporting on inspectional services. So take it away, Tom. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, hello again.
Hello again.
As you know, we in the building department have been asked to provide a little overview of what's been going on and what we've been doing in the building department, which we are, of course, happy to do. I say we because I asked Kathy Canizzo, who is, of course, an integral part of what goes on in our office as the administrative assistant and as a zoning officer, along with myself. I've asked her to join in. We continue to be quite busy with permit applications, a lot, despite the high cost of materials, which is kind of confusing, but the strictly building aspects of what we do are pretty straightforward. Applications, review of plans and materials, confirmation of licenses, which is important, insurance also important. Then, of course, the actual permitting and inspections. But it all starts with zoning. So we thought an update about zoning would be more informative. And again, as everything starts with zoning, at this point, I would like to ask Kathy to start off with some of the items that we've been dealing with pretty regularly. If I can turn it over to Kathy.
Okay, good evening. As Tom says, you know, all permits start with a zoning determination and almost all require some research or follow-up. But in terms of enforcement, one item we continue to pursue is signs. Signs continue to be around town and an ongoing issue. Some signs are just personal signs for items for sale, or wood for sale or space for rent. And as long as these signs are conforming to the bylaws, they are allowed as of right, provided that no sign shall exceed 6 square feet of total area. And some of these signs are exceeding this, and these residents are being told that a sign permit is required through the planning board. We have identified on our various zoning trips around town multiple commercial vehicles on properties. More than 3 commercial vehicles on a property will need some sort of special permit granted from the zoning board of appeals. As of now, these owners have been identified and this issue has been brought into compliance. There also seems to be an uptick in people residing in trailers, campers, and in motorhomes. We have reached out and explained the consequences of such occupancies, and we seem to have it under control, but it is something we are keeping an eye out and we're trying to eliminate. We also have been dealing with a lot of pre-existing non-conforming houses looking to add on lately. And after research, we must make a decision as to whether they need to obtain a Chapter 41A Section 6 finding from the Zoning Board of Appeals. So these are some issues that we've been trying to enforce.
If I may, in addition to the usual zoning inquiries, which there have been a lot lately, we've been dealing with a lot of older lots that have suddenly and recently been put on the market. Some of the problems is that because of when they were created, they're now required to be looked at in terms of the chain of title and how that applies to the protection of these lots based on the new bylaws, which requires some research. I mean, we're not acting as title insurers or anything, but we need to go back far enough in the chain of title to determine what they need to present to us and in what form. Typically, it would be from an attorney, but before we could get to telling them specifically what they need, we have to do some research. And then, of course, depending on what we get, we take a look at the information and try to make another determination as to whether we need to send it to our council or not, or some verification. One of the items that I'd like to touch on, because we're still having a problem with it and we're struggling, and that's with dog kennels. We're in the process of putting together some observations and suggestions to the zoning bylaw review committee looking to coordinate some of the language. We've got language in the zoning section of the bylaw that conflicts with language in the municipal section. And it's not just kennels that we seem to still find some of these problems. We're going to try to identify them so as to at least get them looked at and see if anybody has any interest in trying to change them up a little bit. But these conflicts become problematic. Sometimes something isn't mentioned in the zoning section of the bylaw, is silent, and we're finding that it's then picked up in the municipal section of the bylaw, and it refers to things that aren't allowed in the zoning section of the bylaw, which becomes a bit of a problem when you're trying to explain to people why they can't do something, even though it says somewhere else that you have to do this to get that. I know this sounds confusing, but these are some of the items we deal with on a pretty regular basis. We're deliberately leaving out specific properties because some of them we've got some ongoing negotiations with, and we don't want to get into a position where we're identifying people or properties. But we are engaged and we're involved, and we've been dealing with quite a few things. So we've been busy. I don't know how much more you would be helpful to you, but we're certainly willing to take questions if you have any.
John or Mark, any questions for Kathy or Tom?
Just out of interest, when you speak to people about town enforcement, what kind of feedback do you get on that? I could imagine it's kind of out of proportion for the nature of the problem.
Typically, that would be correct. But I'm fortunate in that Kathy, who oftentimes has first contact with people, has a very pleasant nature of her own. And a lot has to do with how you approach people. I've never been a guns blazing kind of guy. That is counterproductive. Generally speaking, if you approach people reasonably and calmly and explain the problem you're having, trying to allow them to do something, they get it. They may not like it, but generally, they try to cooperate. I have not, in my experience over, I haven't been doing it in Plympton for that long, but over the course of 20 odd years, been pretty successful getting people to comply without having to go to that extra measure.
And I think we appreciate both of you for just that reason, just that style. So one other question for me. It seems like we've been kind of tripping over the zoning and municipal sections, the conflict in the kennels. Are there enough specific things that you can point the zoning bylaw review committee to that they could fairly easily clean that up?
I think so. And Kathy's my expert on the zoning bylaws. She's very good in finding things in the bylaws. Yes, specifically one issue, I almost hate to bring it up, but boarding is silent in the zoning bylaws, but in the municipal, it has very specifically says that you need a special permit to board, but it's in conflict with the fact that the zoning section of the bylaws is silent on it. So that needs to be cleaned up one way or the other. We're not advocating in any direction, just that we need to make it a little simpler, a lot simpler, actually.
Yeah, it so seems like one of those things we keep getting tangled up in, and it'd be good to just get it cleaned up and out of the way.
I would like to see us, Tom, Kathy, if you can, go through and kind of make a list of where you think there are issues that we could then task the bylaw review committee to address.
Yes,
because I keep hearing about this. Go ahead, Tom.
No, I was going to defer to Kathy, but yeah, we are in process of doing that. We're trying to find items that either are contentious or have the possibility of being contentious.
I'm in total support. Kathy, your knowledge of the zoning laws sometimes just staggers me, so that's great.
Me too.
And I think it's a pleasure to go down to the department and just be able to talk and kind of rationalize things out. So great job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, you guys are a great team, doing excellent work and addressing some very complicated issues and doing it in a way that is productive. I think in the best interest of the town and getting compliant. So congratulations on that. That's not an easy thing to manage. So well done, both of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We like to think the best zoning is the zoning nobody hears about.
Yes,
Yeah, it
especially
really
us.
exactly. That is
Yeah.
true. That is true. You guys have been very quiet. So is there anything we can do to help you? If you need our support with anything going forward, just let us know.
We will take advantage of that.
Great, very good. Well, if you two don't have anything more for us, you're welcome to get off the call and we'll continue with business. John or Mark, did you have anything else for Kathy or Tom?
I'm good. So
Okay.
glad to spend time with each of them.
Yeah, thank you for joining us
Thank
tonight. We
you.
really appreciate the update.
You guys.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Good night.
All right, so next item on the agenda is the review of the special town meeting warrant and recommendation votes regarding the articles. So I've pulled it up here myself as well. Whoops, let's keep that small.
Christine,
right.
do you want me to go through the articles and then you could vote your recommendations all at the end unless one of you has an issue, then maybe we could put a hold on a particular one?
That is a great idea, Liz. Yeah, let's do
Okay.
that.
All right, so the first article here, this is for the acquisition of Turkey Swamp. And it, our plan with town council is closer to the special town meeting when we develop all of the language for the motions. At that point, we will insert the actual dollar amounts. But this leaves us some additional flexibility in case anything unforeseen were to arise between now and the special town meeting. So this Article 1 is for the acquisition of Turkey Swamp. Article number 2 was put forth by the treasurer, and this is to afford her the ability under Mass General Law to have people with land and tax title to get them going with a payment plan. And we have to actually adopt the Mass General Law to afford her that option. So it's more of a housekeeping thing. We were kind of surprised that that had not been done in the past. So that's what Article 2 is. Article number 3 is for the unemployment line. If you recall, we only fund that budget line at approximately $1,000 annually. And this is to cover an unforeseen departure from the police department from last year. The amount we estimate is around $21,000. That should be a safe estimate as far as printing in the warrant. So that's Article 3. Article 4 is to exempt the fire chief from the provisions of Mass General Law that require mandatory retirement at age 65. It would afford the Board of Selectmen the opportunity to keep him appointed in his position up to age 70, providing that you enter into successful employment agreements with him up to and including that time frame. And it does reserve the right, if you wanted to require a physical exam and that sort of thing. So that's Article 4. Article number 5 is more or less a housekeeping item pertaining to the wage and personnel bylaw. Back when the Wage and Personnel Board used Kingston's format, I think that some of the text from Kingston may have inadvertently made it into ours. So this in no way changes anybody's benefits. It really doesn't apply to anybody anyway. So it's not taking anything away. It's just cleaning up that section of the wage and personnel bylaw pertaining to sick leave. so that we're not making changes to anybody's benefits. Article number 6 is from the assessor's office, and it's for them to transfer from overlay surplus fund the amount of $100,000 to reduce the fiscal 2023 interim tax rate. According to Wendy, they have this on there as kind of a safety. If they can determine the tax rate ahead of the special town meeting and it's not necessary, they would move to just pass over it, but they wanted it on there just where valuations were so high last year. They want to do this as a means to help people out and adjust the tax rate. So that's what this article is for. And then article number 7 was originally a placeholder article that we have decided to move forward with. And this is from the Town Properties Committee for replacement and or repair to the roof at the old townhouse. We are waiting for the roof assessment that was recently done in order to be able to fill in a sum of money for that one. So similar to Article 1, we'll have the sum of money known, and it will be part of the motion for the special town meeting. But at this time, we just wanted to say a sum of money until we have that roof assessment report back from our consultant. And this is to address the ongoing issues of leaks and mold and everything that's accompanying that. So that's it. Those are the 7 articles. Did you have any questions about anything? Or if not, I would recommend it's probably easiest if you just take one vote to affirmatively recommend all 7.
Mark or John, any questions on any of them or any comments?
I have 1 or 2 things, but not in terms of, I don't want to slow down this getting done so that it's the warrant's done. You know, if it's something that I feel strongly about later on, I'll talk at town meeting.
Okay. All right. I like to see that Article 2. I thought that was a good thing to do for residents, and I like to see Article 6. I think it's the whole warrant. I think is good and a productive use of town meeting, a special town meeting. So I'm happy to see the final result with what was submitted. So I'll make a motion that the Board of Selectmen recommend Articles 1 through 7 on the special town meeting warrant.
Second,
All right, second, roll call vote. Mr. Russo,
yes.
Mr. Trainer,
Yes,
Mrs. Joy, yes. All right, Liz, so you just need us to come in tomorrow and sign these so it can go off the
Yes,
print?
you can sign the signature page and then we get it off to the printer.
Okay, terrific. So I'll stop by in the morning and get that signed before I go to work. All right, very good. So next item is the approval for posting of the warrant for the November 8th state election. And this came from Tricia?
Correct. And I forwarded that to you. It's just to approve it, similar to what you had to do for the preliminary election back in September.
And it's just to vote to post the this warrant. Is that what it is?
Yes, it's like it's approving it, and then she will get that posted and everything for the election.
So is this just like approving to form?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right. So John or Mark, do you have any questions on the warrant? It was included with our packet for the 22 state elections.
no questions for me.
Okay, all right. I'll make a motion that we approve the posting of the warrant for the 2022 state elections on November 8th, 2022 at the Plympton Townhouse, as the information is provided by the town clerk. Do we have a
Second,
sec? All right, roll call vote. Mr. Russo,
yes.
Mr. Trainer,
Yes,
Mrs. Joy, yes. Okay, next item is approval of Conservation Commission acceptance of deeds for 2 pieces of land located off Prospect Road, gifted by Curtis Shaw and Robert Seraphine respectively.
So
Liz,
this,
did you want to take this?
sure, sure. So this is land that is being gifted to the town for $1. And the, sorry, I just saw something in the chat. It's for gifting the land for $1, and essentially, this is just you approving of the transaction. So if you take a vote to approve, Conservation Commission has already signed the necessary paperwork. And then I believe the paperwork you'll see up on the cabinet, there's only a spot for Christine to sign as chair. And it's 2 different deeds, 2 different parcels that were being gifted. So you'll see 2 separate documents, Christine to sign as chair.
Okay. Do these abut the 2 Brooks Preserve?
They're right in that general area. They were actually referred to by names that I wasn't all that familiar with. There's something that's Vineyard Brook. Does that sound familiar to any of you? They had pretty names, and then there was another one referred to as Meadowland. So I imagine that they are abutting and part of the overall project that the assessor's office has been working on. They're trying to identify different parcels that are contiguous with some of our existing preserved open space, seeing about acquiring those parcels so that we can add to our overall footprint of protected open space.
Liz, how big are these parcels?
If you give me 1 second, I can pull up the deeds. We did have John Eichman from KP Law draft these deeds. So I just need to find. Oh, I'm sorry. One of the names is Cobb Fresh Meadow, and that one is 1.5 acres, and it connects 2 Brooks parcel. So it actually connects 2 of our 2 Brooks Preserve parcels. There's a 22-acre parcel, and then there's the rest of it. This 1.5 acres will act as a connector for those. And then let me find the other one.
While you're doing that one, I've been working with Wendy and Al Votrino. Usually what happens on these old deeds, they come to me and trying to use the genealogy experience, if you will. So I know the Cobb one, and that does in fact straighten out so that the 2 pieces of 2 Brooks, it's right in the middle and it brings them together so that it's contiguous. So that's
great.
It's a nice find, and Alan Votrino is just phenomenal at this.
Let me see. I have one of them here. So then this one, the Curtis Shaw land that's being granted to the town is commonly known as the Sampson Fresh Meadow. And then let me pull up here. Sorry, I'm trying to do all of this on a little screen. The Seraphine property is known as, it's a lot of fresh meadow in Plympton on Whetstone Vineyard Brook. So both of these properties are going to serve to help make some more connections within 2 Brooks Preserve.
Beautiful. Well, that's awfully generous of
Very
these
generous.
2 individuals to gift these to the town.
One of the things that would be helpful, Liz, in the future is if we could ask ComCon or the assessors to just give us the assessor property number. Just because I'm nosy, I like to look them up and see.
Oh, sure, sure. We can make sure of that.
Thanks.
All right, Mark or John, any questions or concerns, or you're ready to vote approval of this?
I'm ready.
Glad to vote approval.
Okay, all right, I'll make a motion that we approve the Conservation Commission acceptance of deeds for the 2 parcels of land located off Prospect Road that were gifted to the town by Curtis Shaw and Robert Seraphine.
Second.
Second, roll call vote. Mr. Russo,
Yes.
Mr. Trainer,
Yes.
Mrs. Joy, yes. So do we thank them in any way? Do we send these people a thank you note when they donate?
I think we should. I would imagine that the Conservation Commission and the Assessor's Office have been in touch with them quite a bit, because this was something that was put on our radar a while back. Actually, I think it was Wendy who initially put it on our radar. And then we had to get our town council to draft up the deeds for these landowners to sign. So I do think it would be nice if we maybe sent them a formal thank you when the transactions go through, because it's a sizable nation, and it's going further for us as far as connecting some of that land and just opening more space for public passive recreation.
That sounds great. All right, Liz, I forgot to tell you, did FinCom already meet and vote on the warrant for the special town meeting?
They're not doing that until November 14th, and they're going
Okay,
to announce their recommendations at the special town meeting.
okay, so you'll just have our recommendations on the warrant?
Correct.
Okay, got it. Okay, thank you. All right, next item, warrants paid. Bree, do you have that information?
Yes, $29,930.72.
Awesome. Thank you, Bree, very much.
Thank you.
And nice to hear your voice. All right, Liz, on to the town administrators updates.
So we've been very busy with everything going on at Cisco. We just sent out invoice number 2 to them, which they have confirmed receipt of. We are hopeful that the situation comes to a close at some point in the near future. But everything's pretty much status quo with that. I met with a couple members of the Finance Committee last week just to discuss next steps moving forward. We have some new ideas for the budget process, and we're going to change the formatting a little bit just for our own convenience, and also to make it a little more clear to department heads what sort of information we're looking for. So that's going well. As I mentioned, they are meeting on November 14th to vote their recommendations. We received information from Old Colony Planning Council, and it's an application that we need to fill out in order to receive technical assistance for the MBTA communities legislation. So I will get started on that tomorrow and get our application in for technical assistance. And then additionally, Old Colony Planning Council has approved technical assistance for us to help us with getting our housing production plan, the scheduled update completed for that, so that we remain in compliance. Additionally, I'm working with Linda Letty. We want to put together some form of technical assistance for them to update the open space and recreation plan. And I'm not sure, they may end up having to outsource some of that work. I think we've reached the top of our ceiling as far as Old Colony Planning Council and available funding. So we may have to look at some other potential funding sources for that plan update. So Linda and I are on the same page as far as that's concerned. And we also have on the Selectmen's meeting on November 7th, Barry is planning to attend. And we thought that we could iron out the language for all of the motions for special town meeting that evening and go through if there is anything to discuss in the way of logistics with respect to the special town meeting. So he's planning to be there on our Zoom call that evening. And then otherwise, the work for the Green Communities Grant for the heat pump systems at the fire station and the library, that work is already completed. I feel like it was completed in record time. So we're going to be able to close out that grant. It seems like just as quickly as we received it, but that's good. And then I'm making a plan with our vendor to have them reevaluate all of the town buildings to get ideas for future green communities applications, because a lot has changed at our town buildings. And it's possible that even our police station now may be eligible if there are any upgrades to be had there. So I'd also like them maybe to take another look at the old townhouse. I've been told that if we were to install a heat pump system similar to what we've just done at the library and the fire station, that it may actually help with some of the humidity issues inside that building. And we could use it to draw out some of the moisture and not have some of the issues that may come along with the dehumidifier, such as emptying it or needing it to drain somewhere. So more to come on that. And then I do not have anything here in correspondence.
Liz, you're going to mention the executive sessions?
Oh, yes. Thank you, John, for reminding me. So just for the record for open session, as part of my update, I would note that on September 26th, in executive session, the board voted to acknowledge that we had reviewed our executive session minutes from January 1st, 2020 through September 26th of 2022. And we did not identify anything readily that would need to be released and made into public minutes. So anything from that time frame, if anything comes up in the future, we can re-review it and go from there. But at this point, we're not releasing any executive session minutes from that time frame.
Thank you, Liz. All right, I did get one piece of correspondence at home, and it was from the MBTA Advisory Board. And it's saying that I'm the member of this organization ex officio. So I wasn't sure, was Colleen Thompson our representative?
She's
for the MBTA?
She's the GATRA representative.
Okay.
So
Okay.
if you want, I'm happy to reach out to them and find out what it is that they're, I'm wondering if they didn't get the memo that we're doing GATRA.
Why do I, you know what I'll do? I'll scan this letter I got from Brian Kane into you. And yeah, if you want to reach out to him and find out,
Sure.
that would be great. Okay, perfect. Awesome. Thank you very much. Okay, so now we've got the minutes from 9:26 and 10:03. Any questions or concerns on the minutes from 9:26?
No, I think we've made our updates to them, so those are in final form.
Okay. All right. Do one of you, I wasn't there. Do one of you want to make the motion to accept the minutes?
I'll make a motion that we accept the minutes as written for September 26th.
Second,
All right. Roll call vote. Mr. Russo,
yes.
Mr. Trainer,
Yes.
Mrs. Joy abstains. All right. So on 10:03, those minutes look good. Mark, did you just change the LD to TA on that one?
I have made a note. I will change it and submit them, and I appreciate your close reading and picking
No.
that up. And I am so embarrassed I missed that one.
All right. So John, did you have any issue
No.
with the minutes? Okay. All
No.
right. So I'll make a motion that we accept the minutes from 10:03 as amended. So do you want to do a second, John? Because Mark wasn't there.
Okay, second.
All right. Roll call vote. Mr. Russo? Oh,
Yes,
no, you were there because you took
I
the
was
minutes.
there. I
Oh,
did the
good Lord.
minutes.
Yeah, hello. All right. Yeah, good Lord. All right. Mr. Trainer
Yes.
and Mrs. Joy, yes. Okay, so we're now current on the minutes. All right. Selectmen's raves. Actually, why don't I do our upcoming schedule first, and then we can wrap it up with the raves. So our next meeting is going to be November 7th. And at that point, Barry will be meeting with us to review the special town meeting warrant and just kind of the procedures and get that all squared away. And then our special town meeting will be held on 11:30. And then if the selectmen need to have a meeting prior to the special town meeting, we will post it and have it scheduled for then.
Christine, could I just mention one other thing real quick?
You sure can.
The highway department is having the gentleman from Mass DEP who specializes in their pay-as-you-throw program. He's going to be putting on an informational session for seniors actually tomorrow morning at the townhouse. And that was, the seniors were notified about that through Colleen Thompson. And then additionally, he's also going to be hosting a Zoom workshop just to give more information about what a program like that would entail next Monday, the 24th. And I believe that that's at 6 p.m.
It is.
And I can send everybody the Zoom information for that. But again, that's not a selectmen's meeting. It's just a public workshop being hosted by Mass DEP. And our highway department is supporting them with that informational workshop. So I can send you the Zoom info. And I know that the highway department did send an ad to the newspaper. So that should appear, I'm hoping, in Friday's newspaper so that people know how to access it. And I'll make a note here that either Colleen Moran or myself, we can reach out to the clerk's office and maybe they can add it to the town calendar with the Zoom information so that people can just click on the link if they want to join it. And that way it shows up on the town's official calendar.
Liz, do you think that Zoom meeting will be recorded and then we can offer that link for those that can't make that meeting?
I mean, we can, yeah, I don't see why not.
That's a great idea.
That's a good idea. And then maybe we can get it up to on Area 58, see if they have a special spot maybe that they could put it.
Or just the link on the town website or even Plympton helping Plympton.
Yeah. And put it up on YouTube. It'll be fine.
Yeah. So we'll plan on that, and I'll let them know as well that they should plan on recording it.
I wonder if we could get them to do a Saturday at the library.
So they've committed to doing a couple things on Saturdays, but they want to wait until after the first of the year. So kind of
Okay,
information out now. Let's get through special town meeting and everything. And then after the first of the year, I believe that they want to do maybe a Saturday at the library, but there was also discussion about a public forum on a Saturday where people could come out and learn about the program. And at that point, I would imagine that being the type of forum where people could really ask questions and kind of get down to a more granular level about the program. I believe that the program tomorrow and then the one on October 24th is more just the person from DEP providing information and more general level information as opposed to a public discussion, so to speak. It's more just to get info out there, but they did commit to coming on 1 or 2 Saturdays to have actual like back and forth with the people and to address questions and that sort of thing.
I think the library is a good idea, but I think once we get more than 25 people in there, it's really people on top of people. I got a feeling if we hold it at the townhouse, I wouldn't be surprised to see 40 or 50 people show up. I think this is going to be a very, not controversial, but it'll have a lot of emotions on both sides of the issue.
well, maybe it could be sponsored by the library and the Saturdays at
idea.
the library, but the
Yeah.
venue is the townhouse to accommodate a larger group.
That's great.
Because
By the
those
way,
have been such good programs.
you're on the next speaker.
What's the date? I had to get a new phone and I don't have it on my calendar. Is it this Saturday?
No. It's November.
I
Hold
think
on.
November 6th.
Yeah, November 5th, first
November
Saturday.
5th. Okay. At what time, John?
It starts off at 10:30,
Okay.
but we usually allow everybody, 10 or 15 minutes to just get coffee, circulate, talk to each other.
Okay.
And again, it's only a 10-minute,
All right. And I'm talking about affordable housing. Okay.
Or-
Perfect.
it'll expand more than that, and you can make it what you want. So
Okay.
don't feel hemmed in by that.
Okay, all right. I got 10 minutes to work the
You'll
crowd.
have lots of
Perfect.
questions.
Oh, I'm sure I will. All right. Who'd like to go first with the raves?
So I'm glad to go. My rave is for the oranges and yellows, reds, the glorious foliage of southern New England in early October. We're quite blessed.
My rave is going to follow right along with that. My grandniece got married on let's see, the Saturday before last, and they had their wedding outside at the Perkins Farm, or as we know it, the Kierstead Farm. And looking across, they had the wedding ceremony, so they were looking across the pond towards Main Street with the foliage in the background. It was something like you would see in Yankee magazine. It was really just beautiful. And then they had the lunch and dinner up on the hill behind the barn where they had tents set up. And I think Mike and Jen have done just a beautiful job. It's really become something that you look forward to. You go down and you see, there's been other weddings there too, which is always fun to drive around. See, they've done a good job. They had the market fair. And in the case of the Perkins Farm, it turns out my niece is the first cousin 10 times removed of Luke Perkins, the original owner of the Perkins Farm or the Kierstead Farm. So it was exciting. She didn't know that.
Very neat. That's really neat. Wow, what a great.
And the connection is the weather was perfect.
Great. Oh, that's so nice. I've got one rave and then one just kind of a warning. So my rave is for Liz and Chief All with managing the strike. This has really been, I mean, Liz is so gracious. This has been so much time that they have spent on this and energy around the clock, weekends, really managing a very big situation. So hats off to you guys. You've done a great job, and I'm sure you cannot wait for it to be resolved. And get your time back.
Yeah.
Second one was I was out walking with my dog in back in the Smith's Bogs this weekend, or actually this week. It was Wednesday, and a coyote came after me and my dog. So just people, be aware when you're out walking that the coyotes are out there, and I think particularly people with small dogs like I've got, you just need to be aware of your surroundings. So it's like swimming in the water. You just need to be aware. You
Yep.
don't want to live in fear and be afraid to get out and walk, but you just need to be aware of your surroundings. So that's all I've got. All right. So being no other business, I'll make a motion to adjourn. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, raise your hand. Aye.
All right.
All right, good night, everyone.
Night.
Thanks,
Bye.
Liz.